adults now.
Happy holidays to CJ and Ella.
Good afternoon and welcome to Cinema Smackdown. We are on the air. My name is Michael Brody and I am joined today by Shane Simmons.
Oh, I'm a special guest today.
You're my special guest this one and only time.
One and only time.
This one and only time. Welcome to 2019, Shane. As you well know, 2019 is when we all get our flying cars, according to the movie Blade Runner.
Our flying cars and our replicant sex bots.
Replicant sex bots, and of course our replicant sex bot detector kits.
Yes,
which
right.
involve,
I'm looking forward to some false positives on that one.
An eyepiece and...
I have my fancy Blade Runner gun handy.
Your questionnaire. So everything Shane and I have been just talking about is related to a question I'm going to ask tonight at Trivia. That's our little... This week I will mention something about Blade Runner at some point. And if you know that, you're already a step ahead of winning a round of trivia, where I host trivia at Grumpy's, downtown Montreal, at about 9:15. We get things started sometime around then, perhaps a few minutes later. And we do this every Sunday. I host a little trivia show there. Grumpy's is downtown Montreal. It's 1242 Bishop Street, smack dab in between Peel and Guy Metro, just off St. Catherine Street. Nice little pub. Even if you don't come for the trivia, come check out the place. It is my favorite. I like to call it a dive bar. I don't know if the owners would approve of that name.
It's just a few doors down from the Rats. The Rats I've literally seen 2 weeks in a row in the same garbage heap.
Well, I mean, garbage heaps do attract...
The same two. I recognize them.
Are they named Pinky and the Brain? I don't know if they weren't rats. They were mice.
Close enough.
You can give them a nice little nickname. So today, let's continue our chat about the most overlooked movies of 2018. What do you say?
Oh, sure, let's do that. Why not?
I think two of the movies we should tackle today, just to start with, are Hotel Artemis and Bad Times at El Royale. And one of the reasons I want to tackle these movies is because they have a lot in common. Now, jokingly, I will say they're both directed by men named Drew. Which is
well, there you go. That's all the thematic common ground you need.
That's all we need. But more realistically, they're both films that take place in hotels. You can argue that El Royale's half hotel, half motel, because as I read yesterday, if it has an outdoor entrance, it's considered a motel. And if it has an indoor entrance, it's a hotel, which means to the rooms, the entrance.
Yeah, well, I consider anything on one level to be a motel, regardless of.
Well, according to the trivia for the El Royale movie, it is both a hotel and a motel because it features inner and outer entrances to the rooms. So that is how they...
And because it's spread over 2 states, I guess it also has federal jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's probably... I didn't really double check this, but it's probably one side of the hotel is the outdoor entrances and one side is the indoor. That would make the most sense based on their strange geography.
This is integral to the plot, by the way.
Well, it's, getting in and out of the buildings is kind of integral to both movies, let's be clear.
Okay, I'll grant you that
both of them
a suitable egress is necessary to the plot.
In some cases, it's pretty integral to when characters come and go from the film itself, as in life, when they come and go from the movie, because...
So what, spoiler alert, there's no defenestrations?
There's a few defenestrations, aren't there? When you think about it.
Sort of.
There's certainly some window action that does take a character down, but sort of halfway down.
Okay.
At any rate, they're both movies that have crime ensemble casts. They're crime films, and both movies. Let's be clear about this. One of the central themes of both movies is an incoming super villainous gangster character or something along those lines. Both of them have that element of we're waiting for someone super bad to show up. That's a pretty heavy theme.
You can also say they're both period pieces.
That is another thing I was going to bring up. One takes place in, I think, 2028, and the other takes place in
1969.
1969. So they're both outside of our now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they bring to the table. Why don't you vamp for a second while I go grab a piece of paper I forgot to grab?
No, don't lie. You're going to the bathroom again, aren't you?
I'm going to the bathroom, but I'm going to be nice about it and just use a jar.
Okay, yeah, so we saw Hotel Artemis, and Bad Times at the El Royale within about a week of each other, I want to say.
Possible.
Yeah, it was pretty close. So they're both ingrained in my mind in sort of the same corner. Now, I was a tremendous fan of Bad Times at the El Royale, and we both liked but did not love Hotel Artemis. Artemis being... It's another one of those science fiction, kind of just for the sake of being science fiction.
Sure.
You could take the exact same plot, basically, have it set now, have it set in any time, because the crux of the film is that it's a hotel that's sort of a field medic spot, a subscription service for criminals who might be wounded on the job to go there, get patched up, stay as long as they need to as far as recovery goes, and then get on their way. Mm-hmm. And it didn't need to be science fiction, so the science fiction elements are a little arbitrary.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's about tech. The whole movie is about technology in as far as what sort of advancements can we throw into this. We just put it in the near future, but we give this movie, because it's essentially a medical film in many ways, mm-hmm. because the hotel isn't really a hotel. It is... Actually, that's one of the things I wanted to bring up about it, which I gave the movie a quick review last night, just to remind myself of a few things about it. Here's what's interesting about the Hotel Artemis. It's secret. No one is supposed to know it exists. Characters are told in no uncertain terms that if they speak about this hotel, there will be repercussions. And yet, there are multiple scenes in this movie where you see the skyline, and the name of the hotel is clearly visible. So they're not hiding it super well.
Fair enough, but, it's a hotel, but if you're in the right criminal element, you know it's really a hospital.
Right, like a criminal recovery
but
safe house.
You do have to wonder how many, randomly honeymooning couples show up knocking on the door saying, "Hey, got a room?"
Well, they walk us into the movie with two brothers who've just committed a crime who both need medical attention because they've both been shot in the process of committing this crime. And we are walked into this hotel by them, essentially, and we meet the Jodie Foster character who's known as the nurse. Everyone in this movie essentially has a code name, a super cool code name. The main characters of the film mostly have the code names of the hospital room they are staying in, which are, let me see if I remember these. There's Niagara, Honolulu, Acapulco, and Nice. These are and four of the characters in the film are known by these names. Now, I would call arguably the main character of the film is an actor, Sterling K. Brown. His name is actually Waikiki in this film because he's staying with the Honolulu characters, so they give him that additional nickname to go along with it. And it's his brother who's played by Brian Tyree Henry, who some people might know from the Donald Glover show Atlanta. He's one of, if not the lead of that show, playing a character named Paperboy. At any rate, so we get walked into the film by them, and then we meet Jodie Foster's nurse character, and we meet her assistant, who's Dave Bautista.
His codename is Drax.
Well, I think they forgot about that because in the movie they called him Everest. Like, not at all overselling his abilities, kind of.
Another good vacation spot. Just based on the number of bodies.
Well, like I said, everybody in this movie has quite the nickname, codename, character thing. It's really based on how cool can we make this, which is why you have the high-tech sci-fi scanning system.
Better than naming all the characters after colors.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, how many times are you going to see Walter Matthau do that in a movie? It's a little deep in joke there, kids.
It's a plagiarism joke.
It's a plagiarism joke, yeah.
Like Tarantino's career.
Like all of Tarantino's career. Well, actually, another thing, that you brought him up.
Oh, yeah.
These are both Tarantino movies. They are wannabe Tarantino films.
Yeah.
Hotel Artemis to some degree, and El Royale an awful lot. El Royale is very close to the kind of movie Tarantino makes. What with its heavy reliance on music and the style and ultra-violence. They both have ultra-violence, but I'd say El Royale comes a lot closer to the Tarantino style of ultra-violence. They really, the sudden murders of that sort of thing.
And yet at no time did I feel like Drew Goddard was having his way with Ringo Lamb's corpse.
Oh, dear. I have no response to that. So what else can we say about Hotel Artemis? The patient rooms I mentioned. So, yeah, when they get Brian Tyree's character, Honolulu, into this room, they use futuristic scanners to check him. When we meet the Charlie Day character who's in the movie, he's having some work done on his face because he's been stabbed. His character's name is Acapulco, and they mention that there are nanites under his skin healing him. So this is... It's weird that needed to be science fiction. It's all there really is in the movie.
It really, really does not. With a very minor rewrite, that film does not have to have any science fiction elements whatsoever. And it put me in mind of something we saw earlier in the year called Mute, which is another... Yeah, it's future science fiction elements, but none of this is needed to tell this particular story, so I'm not quite sure why it's there.
I mean, the same thing...
Other than to increase the budget arbitrarily.
The same thing might be said by anybody who will only watch science fiction movies. They might be forced to sit through A Star is Born and say, with a tweak, this could have had laser swords. and then I would have enjoyed it.
She totally could have been a robot, because, she's being played by a robot.
At any rate, yeah, that's certainly a way to look at it, is that these films, this one...
Yeah, no, fine. Most films with a tweak, you can make them a different genre. I'm just saying, if you make something science fiction for the sake of making science fiction, your budget goes up.
Mm-hmm. Well, most of the characters in Hotel Artemis have a secret. The nurse certainly has not so much a secret as a buried trauma in her past that has led her to become this character. Pretty much.
Yeah, well, that time she had to interview Hannibal Lecter, she was just never the same after that.
She was never the same after she left his cell and encountered Meeks. I think that's more the point.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know that reference, go watch Silence of the Lambs again.
And then John Hinckley Jr. shot the president for her, and yeah, it left her all screwed up.
It's been a rough career for poor little 11-year-old Jodie Foster going through all these things. Poor thing.
Like growing up in Hollywood isn't bad enough.
At any rate, with Artemis, what can we say about it? The hyper-violence, it is a very enjoyable movie. It's not a perfect film. It's not a masterpiece. I recommend it to people, but I don't cheer it. I think it needed something to get better.
It was a fun little film, and given who's in it, I'm surprised it flew that far under the radar.
Mm-hmm. The only other thing
I don't think the budget allowed for them to push an advertising campaign too hard.
That's true. It was not promoted as far as I could tell. Not much. The last thing I want to mention about the film is, I don't know if this is in the advertising. I don't know if this is in the main credits. I didn't check it. But this whole movie involves a character who is incoming at a certain point. Someone will be showing up who has a lot of power, who is even sort of the owner of this place. And I didn't know who it was.
Yeah, so you kind of rub your hands together wondering, who could it be?
When that character arrived...
Better be someone cool, right?
I was very happy.
Yeah, it turns out it is someone cool.
It was about the best possible version of that. So if you can avoid the spoiler, that is a lot of fun, especially the build-up getting to that point. It's about an hour into the movie when that actually happens. So, that we can keep the lights on here, I think we should do a quick commercial break.
No, damn them, they may not interrupt.
They may not interrupt. Well, they're going to interrupt briefly. Just so, so we can afford to keep these awesome halogen lights on.
Yes.
Oh, what fun.
Did you know Concord
Oh, good lord, I'm hearing it.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're hearing it too, but...
Yeah.
Anyway, we're off. Of course, we're still on yours.
Yeah, YouTube's hearing it too.
Self-aware that you're recording our in-between pieces. So.
I know, we need to stop confessing to murders.
I guess we're done with Hotel Artemis. That was about all I had to say about it, but we'll leap into the other one.
Your Saudi Arabia death squad finished getting rid of Tess, right?
Oh, I didn't mention her this week. Should have brought her up.
Well, don't. I mean, Christ, we don't want to get the investigation going again.
How are we doing over here? We still have 30 seconds.
So what's our happy uplifting ad that we're coming out of?
Just one of the movie ones.
Okay.
It just takes away the sting, right?
I don't know. We're advertising our competition here.
I don't care. As long as we're not talking about some harsh thing right before we start talking. Alright, we got 10 seconds.
And Danny.
I really miss following dead whales on the news.
Well, that was an interesting word or two to come back on, Shane. Thanks for sharing.
I'm always talking about dead whales.
If anybody wants to know what Shane was saying prior to this, head on over to his YouTube page where he is posting versions of this episode that include the breaks.
Yeah, it's Cinema Smackdown Uncut.
Uncut, where we say almost nothing, but once in a while, a strange dead whale gem will slip through.
Cinema Smackdown Raw.
All right, well, that's about all we had to say about Hotel Artemis. It is a recommendation. It is an overlooked movie for this year. It was a pretty good film. It's just, it's a minor movie, I guess, I would say.
Yeah,
now,
but it's nice to recommend the stuff that didn't get the press.
We can move towards the next film to talk about, which is Bad Times at El Royale, which I know you loved, and which I thought was okay. And again, I highly recommend seeing this movie. I think it's beautiful. I think it works mostly, but this film is so precious that I never stopped knowing I was in a movie for the entire running time. It never let me get in. That is my take on it. I still think it has merit, it has note, it's interesting, but I want to like it more than I do. How's that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get it, but I'm the one who really liked this one, so.
Oh, here's my joke. I'm as far as I'm concerned, it's so an homage to Tarantino movies. It makes me wonder if the title itself is a reference to hamburgers.
Oh dear. Perhaps. Well, you also pointed out that you didn't care for how much of a musical it is.
Yeah.
Because it is very much ingrained in that Motown sound and era. One of the characters is a singer, I guess fleeing from her position as a backup singer for like a studio singer for Motown type recordings. Everyone in this film has an interesting backstory that is usually hidden from all the other characters.
Yeah. Everybody in this is holding a secret that will be revealed at some point, except one character. Still like to point out. So we won't say who, but one of the characters doesn't really have much of a. It didn't bother me. It didn't really occur to me until you pointed it out.
Right.
Just about everybody else has a deep, dark.
Yeah, I mean, fan as I am of this film, I have not been shy about pointing out some of its flaws, but it kept me thoroughly engaged for. It's quite a long running time. I think it's around 2:20.
It's 2:20.
Yeah.
I will say the movie opens with a wonderful montage scene in one room of a character getting busy with something. It's about
a single take shot.
No, it's not even.
Isn't it?
No, it's time lapse.
Oh, it's time lapse, right? Okay. Well, okay, yeah, but it is a static shot of the room.
Correct. Yeah. So but when I think of single take, I think of the camera not cutting.
Right. I mean, well, time lapse it kind of isn't, and yeah, I get your point. But
there are time cuts. We jump from him being in one part of the room to him being in another part of the room. It's not fast forwarded in the sense of Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, I didn't remember the shot that specifically. But,
yeah, and it's a wonderful way to open a movie, and it really lets you know this movie has pacing. Take a breath. We're not going to rush you through these plot points, which I really appreciated.
Both big fans of pacing in that we can't stand the frenetic pace of a lot of current films. We like an old school sort of slow burn, slow reveal of stuff that you don't see too often anymore, and so when we see it, we get excited.
Yeah, and this is a pretty deep, involved character arc movie. It is kind of wonderful in that sense. It has a ridiculous all-star cast. So who we got? We got Jeff Bridges, Dakota Johnson, John Hamm, just to name a few. There are more. There's Chris. Which Chris is it? It's Hemsworth.
Well,
it's Hemsworth this time. Yeah, it's the musical Chris chairs.
That's a bit of a spoiler, though. You should have sat on that in the same way that we sat on
face on the poster.
Yeah, okay, that's true. The poster itself blows it, but if you see the film within the context, and it was good because I didn't know he was in it.
Right.
I went in. I think it was one of those premieres we went to where
we saw it a couple of weeks ahead of the release.
Yeah, it was one of those premieres where I think I went into it and I couldn't even remember the title of the film we were seeing. I just knew, the new film by Drew Goddard.
Some crimey thing.
Some crimey thing, yeah.
I mean, Drew Goddard has this amazing pedigree. He did some of the greatest episodes of Joss Whedon's Buffy and Angel shows. Then he went on to do Cloverfield. He wrote Cloverfield. He didn't direct it, which I still think Cloverfield is kind of a brilliant little movie. He finally directed something. he did Cabin in the Woods, which has a really weird history of being made and shelved for the longest time. By the time the film was released, Chris Hemsworth, who's in it, was already super famous, and he was nobody when they had made that film. And after that, Goddard wrote the Ridley Scott movie The Martian. He was slated to direct it until the producers looked at the script and said it was too good to let him direct it. They needed a more A-list person. And then
they got some hack who did TV commercials once upon a time.
Yeah. Some elderly hack.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
To be fair, and he seems obsessed with the year 2019 as well. At any rate, Goddard did that, and more recently, Drew Goddard directed the pilot for what I think is the best television show of the last decade. Drew Goddard directed the pilot for The Good Place, the Kristen Bell show. That is so weird and interesting, I'm astonished it's still on the air. It feels like a show that's trying to be too smart for its own audience and therefore couldn't possibly survive. But especially that first 30 minutes, is just a work of pure genius. It sets up the entire world. I believe that Goddard had a lot to do with what this show became just by helming that first episode. I think he really set the tone of what it was going to be. Despite it being a show created by Mike Schur, and I know Mike Schur has continued to run it. He's doing a great job. But I think Goddard really helped cement the look and feel of it. It also has a lot of effects, that first show. It's worth checking out just to see how...
I know you keep on my ass about checking it out. And
yeah.
I continue to not check it out.
It's 22 minutes of your life. It's only, an eighth of El Royale. An eighth of Bad Times.
I don't know. I just don't want to see Sam Malone as a ghost.
Wow, is that not what this is about?
Oh, it isn't?
It is not. No.
I thought it was a direct sequel.
I like that idea, though. I'm going to revisit the series with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
That he is the ghost of Sam Malone. At any rate, back to Bad Times at El Royale. What can we say about it? I will say the strangest way to open a movie is by having John Hamm appear in it. And John Hamm is really famous. He's not a little bit famous. He's really famous. And the moment he starts speaking in what I consider to be one of the most terrible fake accents I have ever heard, it kind of took me out of the movie for a minute. Because, I don't know, John Hamm's not an actor. He's not a great actor. He's a personality. He does really, really come across well. But when I think of John Hamm, I don't think deep, moving, subtle performances. I think kind of a sledgehammer, right? I mean, he's from Mad Men. He is a very intense guy. So seeing him come in and do, I think it's a weird Southern accent. It's not even exactly a generic Southern. He picked something very specific, and he does not win me over in that voice.
Although he is playing a character who's kind of putting on a performance. He plays a vacuum cleaner salesman, and he is performing at all times.
I still found it just a little... maybe he's overselling it a little for my tastes, I guess I would say. At any rate, he's pretty...
He has a weird movie career, though, because he keeps popping up in relatively small roles given his stature.
About 5 years ago, I read an interview with him, or listened to an interview with him, and he mentioned that he did not want to star in anything. He didn't like the idea of having to have a whole movie on his shoulders, which is why he was only appearing as the second banana in a whole bunch of stuff. So he's in that Ben Affleck crime film, which I can't remember the name of right now, with Jeremy Renner, where he plays the cop chasing them. And he's in The Day the Earth Stood Still with Keanu Reeves as essentially the cop who's chasing him.
Mm-hmm. He's in Bridesmaids as a heel boyfriend.
Yeah, he's in a lot of things playing smaller parts. I mean, I wasn't going to...
Oh, and he also has his wonderful role in Sucker Punch.
Oh,
perhaps our favorite example of
but
a good career choice for John Hamm.
But everybody in Sucker Punch, I think, was contractually obligated to appear in that film with a gun to their head. It's the only thing I can believe in order to not hate those actors for appearing in that horrible, horrible movie.
At least in his scenes, he's not performing entirely in front of a green screen. Because everyone else in that film is.
I don't know if that's true. I felt like my eyes
Is there anything in that film that's real or realistic or relatable in any way?
Yeah, so just to sum up, you and I, we don't like the movie Sucker Punch.
No.
It makes us angry.
Well, Us and the rest of planet Earth for the most part.
Oh, there's people.
I did see it with one person who loved it.
There's people who fall in love with it.
Mm.
And I mean, I don't need to talk to everybody, so it's real easy to cut those people off immediately.
Yeah. Remove them from your life.
So,
Sorry, Mom, you like Sucker Punch. We're never going to speak again.
There is one more actor in Bad Times at El Royale I want to mention. The gentleman who plays the bellman, the hotel manager, as it were. A younger male who's running the desk. And he shows up, and he is immediately, you can identify him as, he's a weirdo. There's something about this guy. And I think it's the actor. He has a strange presence. I've never seen him before. His name is Louis Pullman. And the moment you realize who he is...
That film, as far as I'm concerned, if he was the only element of that film, I would have loved it.
Yeah, it still would have been good.
Yeah.
It wasn't until someone pointed out to me that he is the son of a famous actor that I suddenly realized, he looks exactly like him and even sounds exactly like him. But it didn't hit me because he's a 25-year-old version of actor Bill Pullman. Yeah. But I actually am really intrigued to see where Louis Pullman goes next, because he had the it factor in this. He plays an uncomfortable, not particularly likable character, but I found him mesmerizing.
And you kind of feel like, oh yeah, this is where it's going to go for this guy, and you will be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's giving away a spoiler to mention that the hotel or motel in Bad Times at El Royale is laying on the state line. So one of the gimmicks of the movie is there is a line cutting the hotel in half, and a bunch of rules applying to the fact that half of the hotel is in one state and half is in the other. So only one side can you serve liquor. And on one side, the rooms are more expensive. It's a bit of a gimmick. They have a little bit of fun with it. It's an interesting premise.
I thought it would be more pivotal to the plot. It's not.
It's pivotal to the ending. in a
guess.
way that I hated, but that's fine. At any rate, what else is there to mention about this movie? It has a lot of lies, a lot of people not being straight with each other, a lot of duplicity. It's like, as we keep saying, everybody had a secret, right? And those secrets come out at strange times. And much like a Tarantino movie, players are removed from the board very suddenly. You're following some character, and you realize, that's that. He's gone.
Yeah.
She's gone. They're out.
Although it also jumps around in time a bit because we see things unfold from different characters' perspectives. So, yeah, people might be removed, but they might be back in someone else's perception of this is just what went down from my viewpoint.
I think that's about it. That's about what we have to say about it. It's certainly a movie with so many good things in it that it's worth seeing. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think there's a lot to debate about it. You watch it, you want to talk about the details. That's a good movie in my opinion.
Yeah, well, there's more things that came out this past year that I still need to see, but that is still right near the top of my list of films that pleased me personally the most in 2018.
Well, there we go. Bad Times at El Royale, an official sponsor of Cinema Smackdown on CJLO's 60.
Fully half their advertising budget went to us promoting the show, so we want to thank them for that.
We do want to thank them for that.
Especially with all those other big stars in it. You could have had a much more successful film, but you blew so much budget
the problem
boosting our show.
The real problem is, you and I, we only have an hour a week in which we can do this show, and while they wanted us to interview all of the cast, 4 minutes apiece just wasn't going to be worth anybody's time, and to not send them all the way down here to be on the show live.
And we said, I was seeing Jeff Bridges in interviews. He's not the most comprehensible man when you're just talking one-on-one, so we'll skip that one. We don't need him down here.
Latter-day Jeff Bridges,
he hasn't had a very storied career.
Has sort of become the dude. He is sort of the dude now. It's a strange shift, because he used to be a lot more of a respectable character actor, and now he just seems like a constant stoner at this point.
Yeah, he does seem a little trapped in the 60s, except when he's playing a part. But in an interview, he's a bit spacey.
He also says the word man a lot. Man!
Well, man! It's like,
yeah, he's really embodying the dude's persona.
He's about as intelligible as his dad in Airplane when he's sniffing the glue.
Oh, no. What a family lineage. At any rate, I'm a big Jeff Bridges fan. I'll continue to see whatever he does.
He is my favorite Bridges.
I like them all. They all have their pull. There's even, by the way, there is another generation of Bridges. Are you aware?
Of course there has to be. Yeah. It's Hollywood.
Yeah, he has a son, and his son's name is Jordan. And Jordan Bridges has appeared in a few movies. He looks a little bit more like the grandfather. He has the big eyebrows but he has kind of a leading man quality, but I've never seen him do more than play a small part in things to this point. I think he probably ended up on a cop show playing some character over 4 seasons or something that didn't really ever go anywhere.
So if they ever make that sequel to The Big Lebowski they've been talking about for years and years and years, he can be the offspring of the dude in Maude.
I like it.
There you go. There's my pitch. That's my pitch.
Or he could play him in flashbacks. Like I said, though, he doesn't look as much like Jeff as he does the dad, Lloyd Bridges. But anyways, it's just to say, nice to know that this was going to go on forever. Like the Baldwins, it's going to go on forever. I mean, we do have another generation of Baldwins, but they're just busy marrying the Bieber family.
Maybe they'll eventually die off like the Barrymores.
Yeah, well, considering that...
There's a lot of Hollywood legacy people.
She keeps getting involved with men with testicular issues, I guess.
Why can't we have something like a Bogart dynasty? Why do we get stuck with...
I do find it interesting that everyone...
Carradines and Barrymores. And
we're talking about celebrities who have wound up marrying Canadians. So, Drew Barrymore married Tom Green, and Stephen Baldwin's daughter married Justin
And we're all happy children didn't come out of that one.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I like Tom Green. He's an amusing flake, I would say. He's having a good later comedy career. He's no longer famous. He's just got a skewed sort of personality. He's not quite like a Stephen Wright, but he's still interesting. I don't know, I guess you're not a fan.
Well, I think I blame him for the death of Rip Torn's career.
I think...
Father did not want some sausages.
I feel like Rip Torn might be fully responsible.
No, I blame Tom Green. Tom Green made him try and rob that bank.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Naked. Wasn't it nude?
Oh, probably.
That's right. They found him in an ATM, nude or nearly nude, just incomprehensibly mumbling and trying to rob people or the ATM itself. Not a great ending for someone's career. He's still alive, by the way.
No, he's not. Men in Black 3 told me he's dead.
Exactly. My point being that Rip Torn has been officially killed in the movies, despite still being alive on Earth, much like Sean Connery was in the last Indiana Jones movie.
Right.
We have to mention that he's dead now.
Yeah, because he's not coming out of retirement for our crappy sequel.
We are 11 years past that movie having come out, and he was dead in that film and is still alive in real life. That's got to sting a little bit. 2008.
Sorry, which one? You talking about?
The last Indiana Jones movie was in 2008.
Oh, that. Okay, right. Okay, I thought you were doing the math from Last Crusade.
No, that's a fair bit more math. That's 30 or something.
You think having your wounds healed by the cup of Christ would have kept you alive a little longer, but
well, clearly it did.
Well,
he's still around.
It fixed a bullet hole, but
You're just saying he's dead.
Oh, okay.
Clearly he's
so in Indy 5, we're going to get the secret story of how Sean Connery's character has been lost in the Amazon for this whole time.
I think he's just been in the rock.
Actually, they made that film. It's called Medicine Man.
That's right. Right. Which is all about curing cancer. I kind of like Medicine Man, by the way.
Except
the one.
No, but Lorraine Bracco single-handedly ruins that film.
She's a little rough.
She is so obnoxious in that film, I wanted to burn the film down.
There's a pretty great scene of her taking a bath in a pond, and he gives her a little piece of advice about, well, if you're going to bathe here, you might want to put on a pair of underwear because there's a tiny fish that likes to swim up human urethras.
Yeah.
I like that scene.
Well, I wanted that to happen, though, because her character is so obnoxious. She's so bad in that movie. I spent the entire run of The Sopranos wanting Tony to whack her. And not in a good way that he wanted to, but,
Yeah, I wasn't very fond of her role on that show, but I wasn't very fond of the character she played, let alone her performance.
Yeah, I was fine with the character, but I was still suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome from watching Medicine Man.
Understandable. She's pretty great in Goodfellas, though, right?
Yes. Yes.
She's appropriately cast in that.
Yeah, she has a pivotal role to play in cinema's best pistol whipping.
Oh dear. But she has some gravitas in that movie. She's not just the...
Yeah, no, I guess.
She's not just an...
I will put aside my my one film hatred of Lorraine Bracco to say, yes, she is excellent in that one.
Yeah, so she definitely... I mean, that might have been why I didn't like her on The Sopranos, because she had already kind of lived out that Scorsese gangster role.
Yeah, she'd already done the best role she's ever going to do in a mob type story. So.
Exactly. So for me, it was a little... I'm also not a huge fan of extended therapy sequences, unless they involve Gabriel Byrne. Then I'm all in. Gabriel Byrne had 3 or 4 seasons of a TV show where he just sat in a chair and said, "And how did that make you feel?" It was called In Treatment, and he's amazing in it.
No, I just had a flash of, I'd love to see Tom Reagan from Miller's Crossing in therapy. So what are you thinking? And he just sits there and says nothing.
I think at a certain point he would just say, "I think you can go to hell." I think that's pretty much what he would say eventually. Something along those lines. That seemed to be Tom's...
Really? You're not opening up to me, Tom. Tell me, what's in your heart? What heart?
That's good. That's more appropriate. So let's talk about that movie you mentioned to me yesterday you wanted to touch on.
Oh, touch on. So,
Jody, what's
Jody Hill.
Thanks, yeah.
Yes. Always quick to confuse it with Jonah Hill. Not
exactly.
The same guy.
And I think they may have worked together. I'm not sure. They've certainly worked with the same people.
True.
As he made a Seth Rogen movie and a few other things. So Jody Hill started out with that little karate movie.
Yeah, sort of a almost docudrama, The Foot Fist Way, starring Danny McBride.
The introduction of Danny McBride to the world, too.
So, it should be mentioned that in the 3 films he's done so far, and he's also done a TV show.
Well, he's done several TV shows. I'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah. But in his film career, he tends to do these little character studies of truly horrible people.
Right.
Like...
really self-aware.
Borderline sociopathic monsters.
Who all love themselves.
Yeah, who are just a tiny bit lovable, but they are horrible, horrible people. And I find his work fascinating. Foot Fist Way is not a fully successful film because there was an ending they shot that they didn't go with that would have made the film damn near a masterpiece.
Oh, I'm not aware of this.
Yeah, it's on the DVD, deleted footage. And it is the logical culmination of that character because it goes from just being a really self-centered dick to murder.
Oh, okay.
And if that had happened in the actual film, I would have loved it almost as much as I love his second film, which is Observe and Report, starring Seth Rogen, who I'm sure at some point the idea was going to be that was going to be another Danny McBride vehicle.
It feels like it.
It really does. And I will say, I'm not a tremendous Seth Rogen. I find him has a certain charm, but I just don't like the films he's in for the most part.
I don't like him as a comedian, but I find him interesting when he steps at least half a foot back from that and adds an element of drama. But when there's nothing but him trying to be comedy charming, he loses me very quickly.
Well, Observe and Report is the one role where I unreservedly love him in it. It is notorious as being the other mall cop film that came out that year.
That's right.
Because the famous one is Paul Blart Mall Cop, which is a comedy remake of Die Hard, whereas Observe and Report is a comedy remake of Taxi Driver. And it is
probably the most successful
dark
Taxi Driver
movie. Yes.
And there are dozens of faux Taxi Driver films or movies that try to replicate kind of the arc of what Taxi Driver is. But this is the one where I honestly feel I understood the character in Observe and Report better than I understood Travis Bickle.
I completely agree.
Yeah, there's things about the real Taxi Driver movie where I'm not quite with you. I don't really know why you're this
You're a
crazy
little
here.
too alien, whereas, you understand, you empathize with this character, but again, he's a sociopathic monster.
Yeah, and that's the thing. These movies they're successful because you realize early on the character is essentially a sociopath or something along those lines, but the movie is aware of this and isn't shying away from it. So they're giving you these humorous character portraits of real monsters.
The closest another filmmaker's work gets is, I would also point to, it's almost in the same universe as these films, is James Gunn's Super.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
You know, the similarly dark, oh my god, this person should be locked up, but I have a little spark of care and love for this guy, even though he's so broken.
Even though most of his actions in the movie
are monstrous, and like any
irredeemable.
one of them should put you in prison forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're just a danger to society.
So we were talking about Jody Hill's films because
okay, so
his most recent movie.
Yes, this past year, straight to Netflix, was his new film. So I was really excited to see anything this guy does, and it is another character study piece of a not wholesome character. Mm-hmm. This time it's Josh Brolin. And it is the legacy of a white-tailed deer hunter. Yeah, so right away...
Co-stars Danny McBride again.
Yeah, Danny McBride.
Despite being in the whole movie, he's a much smaller role.
That's right,
It's just sort of the yes man hanging in the background.
So right away, you feel, okay, well, he's a celebrity hunter. He has like a series of videos about him going to the woods and killing animals, often in extreme ways, as witnessed by some of the explosions in the opening montage. And okay, this is going to be great. He's going to be a monster. It's about him taking his son, who's not interested, into the woods on for his new video, and it's going to be his son's first kill. And it's like, okay, all the setups here for this guy to be just as wonderfully horrible as the other characters. And he's not. It's sort of actually a sweet family film, ultimately.
It's a little minor on every level.
I have to say, it's not a terrible film by any means, but it is my most disappointing film of the year.
Right.
Because I'm kind of in love with Jody Hill's career at this point.
The only element of the movie that I thought lived up to the legacy of the Jody Hill movies is the Danny McBride's weird obsession with letting other men sleep with his wife.
Yes, that was the one scene in the film. It's like, this feels like something out of a Jody Hill film.
He's just really happy that other men have come over and had sex with his wife, and he's photographed and filmed them. And he's delighted
it's like
to share this information.
Yeah, I'm a cuck as my wife pulls a train, and now I'm going to share the photographs of this with a boy who's far too young to be seeing this.
Yeah, and that was really uncomfortable and really funny. So I really like that aspect of it. But I do want to mention, despite the fact that Jody Hill made a movie I don't really care for this year, his other two films are fantastic, and his TV work is also fantastic. Now, he started off working on Eastbound and Down with Danny McBride, and this show is not for everybody. It has sports elements, not that it is only about sports, but it's a bit of I don't know how to put it, it's a cringe show. Everything that character does, the Danny McBride character, will make you uncomfortable and angry. But there's comedy in that, and that show went on for 4 seasons. The character, ultimately, I mean, the argument can be made that he never learns anything and is just as much of a monster at the end as he is at the beginning, which is fascinating to watch a TV show go that far into a story and never really have anybody get redeemed. But as much as I like that one, I don't recommend too many people watch it because it could test your nerves. Whereas last year or the year before, he did 2 seasons of a show called Vice Principals. And that is as good as his best film work, because it's about 2 men who are real sociopaths, who are vying for a position at a high school as the principal, but they are the co-vice principals. And the things they do to try to get ahead they're awe-inspiring. There's so many good ideas in, I want to say it's an 18-episode series of 2 seasons of 9, something strange like that. But that show it's hard to say it's as good as Observe and Report, but it's certainly by that same creator. You'll have that feeling when you watch it. So that's my recommendation. Definitely watch Vice Principals if you can, certainly over White-tailed Deer Hunter. And after that little recommendation, we're going to take a quick pause to get some recommendations from somebody out there who wants to advertise with us.
The fools.
We use these cutscenes at our trial to remove us from the station.
Yeah. Did you have something specific in mind you want to talk about for the last segment?
Might as well do Upgrade, unless you have other thoughts.
Oh, we can do we can do the two violent films. Well, actually, we're going to talk about a lot of violent films.
What are the two violent films?
Because I was going to say also The Night Comes For Us.
Do you want to have a discussion about movies?
Yeah, but what's the other one?
The Night Comes For Us and Upgrade.
Oh no, we can't do both. It'll take. We only have 14 minutes left. It will take me 14 minutes to talk about Upgrade. Probably.
Well, we'll talk about Upgrade then.
Every Tuesday morning.
Okay.
You know, because I don't think we have 14 minutes on
No,
The
we
Night
have a
Comes
minute
For
or
Us.
two on that one.
Yeah.
That's why I thought if you had something.
Mind you, that's what you thought we would talk
We're already
about
back.
Whitetail. So.
And we are back on Cinema Smackdown on CJLO 1690. I'm Michael Brody. I'm here with Shane Simmons. We're running down the most overlooked movies of 2018, and there are a lot of them. I mean, enough that I think we're going to do several more episodes about this. But at any rate,
Just enough to carry us over to next year.
I think that's a good idea. That could be the new show. It could be called Most Overlooked Movies. That would
of 2018, just for multiple seasons, we'll just go on and on and on.
Well, if we do an entire 52-week series of Most Overlooked Movies, I mean, we could just cut Tess out completely, which I think has been our goal all along.
Mm-hmm.
We've sent her off to do a special report. She's been gone for about 6 weeks. At some point, we...
Now, it was our fault that we sent her to this special report to do in China. The timing was terrible.
The timing was terrible. I mean, first we sent her to France. There was a riot.
Mm-hmm.
And now China. I mean, we're just cruel monsters.
Yeah, she's a pawn in a political game that's beyond our scope of our tiny little radio show.
Sure. Let's do one more movie from 2018. I would like to talk to you about Upgrade. Now, Upgrade was this new movie by Leigh Whannell. Leigh Whannell has a bit of a pedigree of horror and strange movies, mostly horror. He wrote the first 3 Saw movies, I think. Maybe he didn't write the second one.
No, I think
He wrote the first one at any rate. He wrote Saw. That's important.
Yeah, but the first 3 are the good ones. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, he went on to work with James Wan on Dead Silence and the Insidious series. He even directed the 3rd Insidious movie. There's a movie of note that he made that's called Cooties that stars Elijah Wood, and he wrote Cooties. I don't think he directed it. He's in it, though. Cooties is a movie in which children at a school become infected with a zombie-like virus, but only children. So it's 2 hours of adults smashing children's heads open. Now, there's certainly a sense of humor.
I am sold.
And it's quite a nasty little film. It's a real child murder fest movie. At any rate, we're talking about Upgrade, which is a movie that came out this year and stars Logan Marshall Green, who is... kind of an oddball leading man, I find. I've seen him in a few things. He was the star of The Invitation from 2 years ago. Which was a pretty great
Which
movie.
I've recently watched for the second time, showing it to friends of mine, because I quite enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge recommendation. The Invitation is fantastic. At any rate, he also starred on a TV show called Quarry, which was based on a Max Allan Collins book series about an assassin. It lasted about 8 or 10 episodes, and Quarry is magnificent. It is a really, really well-paced period piece show about a guy who comes home from Vietnam, doesn't know what to do, and takes a job killing people for a gangster. And if it's 8 hours long, it's 4 great movies. It is that good. Really, really well done. So I'm fond of Logan Marshall Green. He started out in the OC, though, which didn't win him any points for me. He was real, teen heartthrob type on that. But he is the lead in this, and his character's name is Gray Trace. Now, I don't know, does that mean something?
Possibly.
Yeah, I
Character names often do.
But I really don't know. Now, I'm going to say some negative things about Upgrade, because there's a lot not to like about this movie. But ultimately, I kind of love this film. So I think it's worth mentioning that it opens with a 10-minute setup where we meet the 2 main characters, which is a husband and wife, and we see them do all the normal things a husband and wife would do at the beginning of a movie to be set up as likable characters. And it's so normal and average, and then there's a tragedy moment, and then things start to change. It just felt like a really, really forced setup. And I didn't care for that. In fact, a lot of the drama in this movie is very movie obvious, straightforward stuff that I wasn't crazy about. But this is another movie with a near future setting.
Yeah. Although this time justifiably so, because the film cannot exist without it.
Right. Well, we've got a lot of AI things, like
You know,
cars that drive themselves and drones.
Yeah, well, the bare basic premise is the lead character is a technophobe. He still does mechanical work on old cars.
Mm-hmm.
He's involved in an accident that leaves his body broken, and he is provided with a new experimental operating system, which allows his body to function again.
Yeah, and at a certain point in the story, after learning essentially to walk again and live and have a normal life, the AI starts talking to him, which it wasn't doing for a while. It mentions, oh, hey, I'm here, and which freaks him out and makes him think he's gone crazy, but it begins to explain, no, I've been here the whole time, I just waited for you to be recovered enough to actually start a conversation with you. So it's a voice in his head, which is weirdly robotic, but also sort of charming. It has a strange, not a sense of humor, but it picks odd moments to bring things up.
Right. Anyway, he starts to look into the circumstances of the tragedy he suffered, and realizes that at certain points of crisis, he can allow the AI to take over, and the AI just knows how to do stuff, like kick everybody's ass.
Yeah,
and it's sort of like a superpower.
When I was watching the movie up to the point where this happens, I was engaged, but only lightly. I thought the film was fine. But the first moment that he says, okay, I'm in a fight right now, and I'm about to be killed by this other person, and the AI asks him,
Do you want me to take over?
Do you want me to take over? And he says yes. From the moment that happens, the physicality that is displayed on screen is nothing short of fantastic. It is so weird and interesting to watch him robotically fight people. The camera movements, everything about that sequence, the first time you see it, it's extraordinary. I've watched that scene over and over because it's so hypnotic. They use techniques I haven't seen before to get across the idea that this is an unstoppable killing machine.
Yeah, it's the way he moves. It's sort of like a Sonny Chiba Street Fighter mime.
Mm-hmm. And it's spectacular. Also, when he fights people, it is unbelievably violent. They take the brakes right off. There's no cutaways. They show you things you would not normally see in a fight scene.
It's merciless in the way that a computer AI system would be. It's like, well, this is all about efficiency, and sometimes efficiency gets really violent and gory.
The thing that got me was, as soon as the first scene with fighting happened, I realized I was watching an all-out exploitation film. This movie is all about trash entertainment. And I applaud it for that. We need the occasional trash entertainment movie. It is a really slick film, though.
I think it's smarter than that as well,
it is,
though, because it goes towards a thematic goal that underlines what the title really means in a different way by the end. And I thought, congratulations, right towards the end of this film. It's not a twist ending, but it's enough of a thematic redefinition that makes me go, that's what you're driving at. Yeah, that's great.
It made the whole movie have an arc that made sense. There's a little piece of trivia from the very first fight scene in this that I really liked that I read this on IMDb, so anybody can read this, but in the first fight scene, the AI's name is Stem, and after Stem takes over Gray's body, you can see Gray use his hand to turn his head in order to dodge a punch. This is because Stem only controls Gray from the implant in his spine down, and therefore couldn't move Gray's head out of the way on his own. So you literally see him reach up and push his head to the side, and that scene is fantastic.
That's true, because in the fight scenes, even though his body is very efficiently beating the hell out of people, his head is looking horrified a lot of the times about what's going on.
The fact that they accomplish this in so many sequences, there are points where he is pleading with the person he is fighting to stop fighting him, and because he knows the machine will kill that person horribly. And there's even points where he's pleading with the AI to just please stop.
Yeah,
let's pull back a little. We don't need to maim everyone we meet. But it's a surprisingly engaging film, and it's amazing to me that, you know, we talked about 3 movies mainly today. We talked about El Royale, Hotel Artemis, and this. And of the 3 movies, the trashiest one by far is Upgrade. But it's the one I enjoyed the most. These are all movies I enjoyed, but the one I really enjoyed the most, had the most fun with, would be Upgrade. But, you know, a little note is that it is extremely violent. So if somebody is a little sensitive, you're not going to be able to watch this movie. The first fight scene in this movie will take you right out of it.
Yeah, we've talked about moments of extreme violence in El Royale and Artemis.
But they're movie moments.
Yeah.
Much more than
Upgrade will push beyond some people's capacity.
Exactly.
Although, you know, you do keep downplaying this film, and I did recommend it to a room full of people, and they all loved it.
Great.
So
I always worry about certain... Like I said, this movie is so simple in its structure that it's almost dismissible in simplicity, and then you add in the sci-fi elements and the violence, and it just turns into something else. I mean, it's a really intentionally made movie. I do know that the movie that exists is the low-budget version of the movie they wanted to make. Despite how good it looks and how futuristic it looks.
it is ultimately a revenge fantasy film.
Mm-hmm.
It is a death wish. There's a million films like this, but it has a certain stylistic verve to it, and the science fiction element just pushes it to a level beyond most of what that genre has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, simple, streamlined, but really effective at exactly what it wants to do.
Yeah. So again, all 3 movies we talked about today, Bad Times at El Royale, Hotel Artemis, and Upgrade, they were some of the better, more overlooked films of this year. People are not really talking about them. They didn't get huge pushes. None of them did well at the box office.
I liked ultimately I liked all these films better than the big blockbusters.
Yeah. Well, let's just put it this way. The movie Aquaman, as we speak, is nearing $1 billion box office poll.
I would watch any of these 3 films 10 times over before I would watch Aquaman a second time.
Yeah, Aquaman was not great.
And it was fine, but,
I can't even bring myself to call Aquaman fine. It was an irritating that was also a 2-hour and 20-minute movie. Does not have the same kind of love for me that even El Royale does.
Yeah, El Royale, I was riveted every moment of that film for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Aquaman, I was pretty much bored for the whole 220.
The big thing that I would say about these movies, all 3, is that I will absolutely see anything these creators do next. Now, we're about out of time, so I will say we're going to do our goodbyes now. I am Michael Brody. I have been joined by...
Shane Simmons.
And we are Cinema Smackdown. We are back every Sunday. We do a little show here where we rant and rave about movies, and every Sunday night I go downtown and I run a trivia show at Grumpy's at around 9:15.
The best damn trivia in Montreal.
It is the best damn trivia in Montreal.
So I hear, and I've seen it for myself, and I agree.
Shane has a little website. It's accessible through Amazon, and you got to get it fast because we're about to be done.
Yeah, check me out at icetrainproductions.com or check out my author page on Amazon.
And we will see you all, or hear you all, next week.
Toodles.
You're listening to CJLO 1690 AM in Montreal.
That was a stupid sign-off on my part. See you all, hear you all. Embarrassing.
Oh, no one will ever hear it. It'll just bounce around in space forever until aliens pick it up.
Not bad, we did an alright show. Yeah, we pretty much covered what I wanted to say about Upgrade without feeling like I rushed.
To talk about some of the